Welcome to Estimating Surface Area. Here we'll look at reference for linear measurements. Now, a referent is an object that can be used to help estimate a measurement. Now, an example of a referent for 1 millimeter is the thickness of a dime. If you want to measure the height of a small object, you can stack a few dimes next to it to get an estimate. Now, a referent for 1 centimeter is about the width of a paperclip. You can also measure something more personal to you. For example, you can measure the width of your fingernail to see if that is close to 1 centimeter, and then use that to help you estimate. Now, 1 meter is about the height of a doorknob from the floor. 1 kilometer is about the distance walked in 20 minutes. Or if you're in a car, you can take note on the odometer to see how far 1 kilometer is. It might be the distance from your house to the supermarket, so then you can get an idea of how far 1 kilometer is. 1 inch is about the thickness of a hockey puck. 1 foot is the length of a standard floor tile. And 1 yard is the distance from the tip of your nose to your outstretched finger horizontally. So a referent can be anything at all that helps you determine a length when a measuring device is not available or even necessary. We don't always need to have an exact measurement, so referents are helpful when you're looking for an estimate. Now, these referents are suggestions only, so you can determine your own referent, but they help you get a sense of distance and length and help you visualize a measurement. So if you're told that something is 10 feet long, for example, you can now picture 10 floor tiles in your head to get an idea of how long it is. Now, referents are also good to determine if your answer is reasonable when doing calculations, because you get an estimate. So example 1. Determine a referent that can be used to measure the length of a driveway. Now, there could be lots of different answers for this, but I'm going to choose my foot. Now, I know that my foot is not exactly 1 foot long, but when I go to place my heel against my toe to count how many steps it takes, I would leave a little gap. So then that would be good enough to get an estimate. Now, for the thickness of my math book, if I had a hockey puck handy, I can place that against it and then compare that to 1 inch. Or I know that the distance between my knuckle to my fingertip on my thumb is about 1 inch. So I probably use that. So my knuckle to fingertip on my thumb. Now, to estimate the height of the classroom, I will probably use the fact that 1 meter is about the height of a doorknob. So then I could use that visualization to see that approximately 2 more might be needed to reach the ceiling. So it would be approximately 3 meters high. So I would use the height of a doorknob here as my referent. Now, example 2. Karen uses the fact that the width of a paperclip is around 1 centimeter to estimate the length of her pencil. What would be a good estimate? Let's say the distance from here to here is about 1 centimeter. She can move it along and determine how many paper clips there are. So say there's another one here. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Say probably 11 centimeters would be a good estimate here. Now, for example 3, it says use an SI and an imperial referent to estimate the area of a cell phone or a calculator, and then use a ruler to see how close you were. So I'm going to choose my cell phone. You can choose whatever object you like. Now for my SI estimate, I'm going to use my fingernail as my referent. Because I know my fingernail is approximately 1 centimeter. So I'll use that to help me determine the length and width of my cell phone and then calculate the area. So if I place my finger along the bottom, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get about 6 fingernail widths going across the bottom. So that equates to about 6 centimeters. Now if I do the same thing going up along the side, I get about 13 fingernail widths. So that means 13 centimeters. So now let me calculate the area using these measurements. 6 times 13 is 78 centimeters squared. So that's my estimate for the area of my cell phone. Now let me use a ruler to determine the actual measurements. Placing a ruler along the bottom, I get 7 centimeters, and along the side I get 14, for a total of 98 centimeters squared. So I was off by about 20 square centimeters. So hopefully you did a little bit better with your estimate. Now we're going to repeat the process again, this time using an imperial referent. Now I'm going to use my thumb again, using the distance from my knuckle to my fingertip, which is about 1 inch. So placing my knuckle down on the phone horizontally like this, I get 1, 2, and I don't get 3 full knuckle widths. So I'm going to say it's a little bit less than 3 inches. So I'm going to say 2.8 inches. And doing the same thing along the side, I get 5 inches. So now using these measurements in my area formula, 2.8 times 5, I get 14 square inches. Now what's the actual measurements in inches? Well, for this I'm going to use a measuring tape, which has inches on it. And across the bottom, I get 2.75 inches. So pretty close to my 2.8 estimate. And along the side, I get 5.11 for a total of 14.1 square inches. So my estimate using imperial measurements was a lot closer than SI.